Thanks.
Cool. So tell us a little bit, just generally, about storytelling, kind of how it operates in your family and your people before we get into it.
Storytelling, being the eldest in my eldest grandchild, I pretty much everything I learnt was from sitting around and hearing yarns from all my nan and my aunties and uncles, and then I've kind of done the same thing with my younger cousins. So yeah, it's pretty much just the most important way of learning everything about who we are in my family. Yeah.
So then why did you like music? What drew you to be able to tell the stories?
I guess everybody in my family loves music, but in my direct family nobody really performs or anything like that. I didn't really think that I was going to become a performer. I was into like athletics and everything that was sport. I didn't do performing arts at school. I was way too ashamed to do that. And but now that I think about it, I think that the performing arts that they were teaching in the school just wasn't my thing, because outside of school, like, I was trying to be Salt and Pepper in front of the mirror and Spice Girls, and like would perform with all of my girls on parade, but it was like the things that we wanted to do. And we did TLC, we were TLC, and so when I think about it, I have always performed, or I've always felt really comfortable to get up and talk in front of people, just from all of that yarning that we had when we were growing up. And
So why hip-hop?
Why hip-hop? Salt and Pepper was my first cassette, my first CD, and my first concert. So my mum just forced it on me. No, yes, I think that obviously had a really big influence on the music that I listened to. But as I got older, I started looking into the origins of hip hop and all these other artists, and hip hop really came from a place where it was a culture that was born out of oppression and the genocide and racism and all that kind of stuff that was over in the States. And so hip hop was like born in the 70s over there, and a lot of those people that started kicking off different elements of the hip hop culture, they were all very educated black people. Like, they were lawyers and doctors and school teachers, and but because of the time, they couldn't get jobs because they were black, basically. Like, there was a lot of prejudice. So it was a way where they all came together. And a guy that is said to be one of the pioneer of hip hop is DJ Kool Herc, and he would just like bring all of his gear out and just start playing music, and they'd have these big block parties where all the kids could come, and it was like a safe place for people to be together. And then everything was born out of that. So the elements of hip hop are DJing, MCing, breakdancing and graffiti art. And it wasn't until a bit later on, when I started hanging out with Fred from Impossible Odds, that he kind of said something that really made everything fall into place for me. And that was like, people always think that blackfellas are trying to be Americans when they get into hip hop, but when you look at the elements of hip hop culture and the elements that make up our culture, they run parallel. Like, they have DJing, and we've always had music around us, whether it's the singing, the didge, or whatever it is. There's that music. And then the MCing, there was always a song man who would sing. And then breakdancing, we have corroboree, and then graffiti art, we're the oldest graffiti artists in the world. So without knowing it, hip hop is like a newer version of our culture. So I think that's probably why it always just felt natural to me to get into that.
So that might not necessarily be true of hip hop today. What would you kind of say to that? And if with your music in particular, do you think for kind of anything that there was a lot of protest music, and there was also talking about origin, there was also a lot of kind of like community gathering
Yeah.
together, and then passing on stuff. Is any of that kind of what you want to do?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. I've always had a bit of an inner fight, to be honest. Like, when you become a hip hop artist and you know why hip hop started and where it came from, and then you're in a country where your people are faced with exactly the same thing, it's almost, like you can't ignore the responsibility that you have to use those tools in a way where you're being the voice for all of your people. And that's, without thinking about that stuff, that is what I started out as. Like, I had something to say. Every blackfella kind of is brought up with a political opinion because that's how, we live. And so I got to a point where I was like, I can't go getting in fights all the time, but I felt so passionately about so much, so I started writing, and and I did that for a long time. I've done a lot of political stuff. Just in the last couple of years, I started feeling like I wanted to try something else, and when you're in the struggle, let's be honest, like, it's emotionally draining. It's a responsibility. You've got so much, like, it's probably a weight that we put on our own shoulders, but I just wanted to do something that was a bit more light and fun, and something that I didn't think about so much, which is really hard. That's actually a challenge for me. Like, I overthink so much. Like, most people can sit down and write a song, in a few hours, and I'll write it and then I'll leave it there for a few days, and then I'll look at it again, and I'll change it, and then I'll make sure that that word that I'm using is being used in the right context, and like, I totally overthink it. So for me to release the song that I did last year, which was just like a fun girls' night out kind of, there wasn't a lot of depth to it, that was actually a challenge for me to do that, to just let go and be like, I don't have to be so serious all the time. And it was actually the most fun experience I've had in the studio. So yeah, I think there'll always be that. I, as an artist now, as a solo artist, I do want to go ahead and try and, crack that mainstream thing, because it is so hard to do. As an artist, it's really hard. And I think a lot of blackfellas fall into a certain box of what kind of artist they can be, and I just want to break away from that for a bit. But me being who I am, I could never not speak up about something, if it needed to be spoken about. So there'll always be those songs thrown in there that are very highly opinionated about stuff. That's all right.
Welcome.
Hi.
Any questions so far?
Can everyone hear me?
That's a good question.
I have a question. When you sung at school and you what
Come on. Left eye. Actually, I always wanted to be T-Boz, but I can't sing. So, left eye, fun.
what does it mean to you to have to get that reach?
It's actually, like, if you've been around me in the last few weeks, you would have seen a change in me, I think, because it's just like a dream come true for me. Like, I've been, without having it on my wall, like, I want to support TLC. Obviously, they are, one of my biggest influences, and they're one of the groups that made me love music, and to get the call to support them. Like, that's just crazy. And I kind of had a moment of just reflecting and thinking, you know, there's been so many times along the way that I wanted to give up, and you know, it was too hard, and I was sick of eating 2-minute noodles and having to pay $2,000, you know, for a film clip, and you know, copping all this crap from, you know, the community. You know, like, oh, you're a big noter because you've got confidence to do things. You know, like, there's been a lot of obstacles along the way that have hit me hard, and I wanted to just give up, you know, and it just made me think, you know, if I did give up, I wouldn't be doing this. So it's kind of really set in me, like, nah, this is it. Like, you can't give up because you don't know what's just around the corner. And I just got back from Cherbourg. I was doing workshops with the kids up there, and 12 months ago when we first started going there, they were all listening to Nicki Minaj, and I was like, okay, do you know who Salt and Pepper is, and do you know who TLC is, and Queen Latifah and Lauryn Hill? And they were like, mm-mm. So I gave them a list, and I was like, go to YouTube, and when I come back next time, you have to know some of these songs, okay? So they went and did that, and now they listen to it all the time. And then when I told them about getting the gig, it was just like their eyes like lit up, and they're like, can you take us with you? I said, no, I can't, because it's at a pub and you're not old enough. And they were like, oh, well, can you sneak us in, or can you get an autograph or a photo, or can you get something? And I was like, I'm not going to promise you anything. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to meet them, but you know, I'll try. But it was awesome to see them and so many other people around me who, like, when you're, you know, pushing along, it seems like it can be a hard road, and you kind of forget that there are people behind you, like, pushing you as well. And everyone's just been so excited about this gig, so it's kind of, yeah, it's a dream come true, and it's made me realise that I can do anything that I want to do. Okay, kitties? I'm actually doing all new material at the gig, apart from the song that I just released, but that's still newish. There will be a mix of, it will be mainly like fun commercial stuff, but I think the way that I'm going, it's like my songs will be for the women a lot, like for all the girls, you know, like empowering women, and there'll always be little messages in there. And I do have one political song, because I can't not do one.
What's that song about?
I've got a song, I'm tossing up between this one and a new one, but my old song that I wrote, it was called Forever, and it had a sample of Cold Chisel in it, and, you know, is this the way it's going to be forever? And when the beat got sent to me, my mind just went crazy. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to write about? I could ask a million things, you know. But on the day that I sat down and started writing, I was feeling really strongly about people in our society who are really ungrateful about, you know, just life in general. Like, you get on Facebook in the morning and you see people complaining because the train's late by 5 minutes or something, you know, and it's just, it seems like such a huge issue at that point in time, but really it's not. Like, you know, you've just walked out of a house with running water and electricity and food, and all, you know, your kids are at school, and it's just like, really, you know, why are you complaining? That was the first verse, and then the next one was about homophobia, and I just really went crazy with it. Like, spoke about the churches and some people within the churches who, you know, turn gay people away, and then there was also a Nigerian football or soccer team who, these girls, they train, you know, so hard to get into this world stage to play for their country, and then there are a few girls who were found out to be lesbian, and then they kicked them off the team. And like, that made me so wild when I read about that, you know. I was just like, man, they worked their whole life for this, and you're just going to rip it away from them. And so, yeah, that second verse is a very long verse. And it was interesting because, like I was saying before, I normally take ages to write a song, but this one just came out, and then I read it back and I was like, whoa, I'll probably get shot in a few countries for this. And I walked around and procrastinated about it for a few days, and then I don't go to church all the time, but I have a Bible next to my bed, and I just picked it up and I was just flicking, and it opened up to this scripture, which is John 12:47, and it says, if anyone hears my words and does not believe them, I do not judge them, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. And I just thought that it was like a message for me, and that's why I got it tattooed on me, just to remind me that regardless of religion or whatever else, like, I've been given a gift, and people aren't always going to agree with it or believe it or anything, but it's my job to say those things because it's the truth to me.
Did you get much inspiration from your brother when you were
In what way? I've got heaps of inspiration.
Yeah, so it's like when you close your eyes, you're influenced by the teachers you have or the school. Is there anybody who stands out for you?
Definitely. There are a lot of rappers who rap about how bad their life was, and I can't rap about that at all because my life wasn't bad, and all throughout my life I've always had people who believed in me, whether it be my family or people who've become our family or school teachers. Like, all throughout school I had people who expected a lot from me, and there was a big time in my life where I was like, why do I have to do this? Like, why is it me that has this responsibility, everyone's expecting everything from me, but people could see the potential in me before I realised it myself, and like, I'm really grateful for that. Like, all my school teachers have bought tickets to TLC already. They bought it pre-sale, so they're going to be right there, so that says a lot about all the the people that have supported me through my lifetime. And I don't know where it comes from, but there's a quote that is something like, it takes a whole village to raise a child, and I definitely believe that I was raised by a whole village, because my mum was a single mum and she made me who I am today, but she got a lot of help from everyone, Yeah.
And how hard has it been to, I know you said you want to crack commercial. I'm sure you just got played on every block station in the country, like an else to grab onto it, me being one of them. But commercially, having worked in mainstream myself, how hard is it to make that transition from just being too told as a black artist to having more sort of playing on commercial language?
It's hard. Like, I'm still, I've been played on a worldwide online radio station and been number one twice in a row, which is huge for me, but a lot of, even though it's run out of Australia, a lot of that audience is not from Australia. So I think the Australian music industry in particular, it's really hard to crack. Like, they only have one style. Like, if you listen to what's on the radio, every radio station pretty much has pop. Whether it's like rock pop, rap pop, whatever, it's like pop, you know what I mean? Whereas you can go to another country and they have like a hip hop specific radio station or a reggae or whatever it is, like, there's more of a variety. And it has been a bit hard for me, because sometimes when you listen to what's on the radio or you see what's on TV and it's crap, like, what are they even saying? You've got these silly songs that I wouldn't want my kids listening to because it dumbs them down. So then you think, okay, well, if I want to make it, do I have to be dumb? Do I have to dumb down my lyrics? And that's another big thing that I went through. And I just kind of decided I'm never going to dumb down my lyrics. I'm just going to, if I feel like writing a really intelligent political song, then I'll write that. And if I feel like writing a song that isn't about much, then I'll write that. But I've always got in the back of my mind, like, the song that I released, there's no swearing or anything in it, but it's talking about going out, and there's a bit of drinking in the film clip. And that was so hard for me to do that because I work with kids all the time, and I don't have any kids at all. They're not my kids, but it's ingrained in me to be conscious about what message we're putting out there. So I still haven't worked it out when it comes to the commercial thing. I'm just hoping that it'll happen and they'll just like me for who I am, and that could be ever changing. I'm indecisive. I don't know who I am half the time.
Is there anybody in particular you'd like to collaborate with or work with?
Do you want me to give you my list? Oh, I wish I could bring Bob Marley back from the dead. There's been a lot of people that have influenced me musically. I grew up on Van Morrison, Bob Marley and Tracy Chapman, and I wish that I could collaborate with Tracy Chapman. And then obviously there's, you know, a lot of different hip hop and pop artists like Beyonce. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I listen to so many different people that I could pick any of them for different reasons. Oh, I'll work with it. I reckon Jimmy Barnes is, you know, like he's done a lot in his career. His daughter retweeted my song on Twitter, so I don't know if he heard it, but that's close enough. I don't know how I'd fit in, but I'd love to like collaborate with AC/DC, even though Bon Scott isn't here still, but my mum made me listen to AC/DC my whole life. I always wanted to be a rock star, but it doesn't really require me to sing properly, so I could probably do it. Yeah. Just scream.
Is there anywhere around Australia that you like to play that stands out? Like, you think of Alice Springs and you think of the dedication up there to women up there,
yeah.
The women's house up there, and other places around Australia. Anywhere that like nationally you'd like to see?
I think a lot of people want to perform in the Opera House, but I'm not really like that. Like I think if I get a gig in there, like that's amazing, but I do spend a lot of time out in communities, and you just feel so much more appreciated when you're in a small community, and you get to actually talk to everyone as well and get to know them. And I'd love to perform like right near Uluru. Like that'd be magical, I reckon. You know, they had that concert there last year, was it? Yeah, for the NITV opening. I just thought that'd be so deadly. Like you're in the middle of the desert with Uluru right there, and they just have this big concert. That's crazy. I'd like to do that. And I still haven't travelled everywhere, but I'd like to. I don't know why, but I want to go over to Perth or Broome or somewhere over that side of the country. Yeah, I like to do a beach concert.
So how do you balance, you talked about that you do a lot of community workshops, that sort of stuff, and I don't how do you try and balance that life and that responsibility to giving back to the community and being an artist and trying to practice that full-time?
Yeah, for a long time I used to hook up the workshops myself through just people like other different companies contracting me, and it was really tricky. To be honest, I've put community work before my music for a lot of my life, and it's only in the last couple of years that I really had to make a decision to put my music first. And even saying that, I still haven't really done that. Like I just have this thing where I feel like it's my responsibility and I have to do it. But I've been lucky enough to be employed at Human Ventures for the Creative Tracks program, which goes around to different communities in Queensland, and that's been good for me mainly because I can rock up as an arts worker and just do my job, and I don't have to spend the extra time like organising it all. So then I can still, you know, kind of save a bit of my energy for music. I'm still trying to find a balance. I am getting better at saying no to things, which has always been a bit hard because I want to do everything, you know, but I've learnt that I have to keep on top of my, you know, my energy basically. So yeah, I'll have to always do it no matter how big I get, and there, you know, hopefully there'll be a time where I can wrap you know, just all the time and perform, but I will have to always have some kind of, you know, thing with the kids, because that is what kind of like refuels me, and when I forget what I'm doing and how important it was to me when I was their age, like when I'm with them it reminds me. Yeah. Any questions?
Nothing? Anything else you want to talk about? You got time. You got like 10 minutes.
We can practice. What else do I have?
Of all the recipes that you've had, which one gave you the most satisfaction in getting over?
Whoa. I think I'm still kind of like battling with a lot of them. Like I've kind of done it, but still, you know, working out how I feel about it. But there was one time where I was copping a lot of crap from my own people, and I don't know, it was obviously just that time in my life where I had to, you know, learn from it. And I rang my mum and I was like, that's it, I'm quitting everything, I don't want to go, I just want to go to the beach and I just want to learn how to play the guitar and surf. And I was expecting mum to be like, talk me out of it. And she was like, okay then, just go and do it. And I was like, mum, you're supposed to tell me no, keep going. And she's like, no, seriously, you don't have kids, you're young, go and do whatever you want. And that really confused me. I was like, what the heck? So I went to the beach. Yeah, I just went to the coast every day, and I think that it's only like now, being 26, that I'm feeling like I actually am starting to know who I am. And it was that time out that I took to kind of reevaluate and realise that it's me that puts all this expectation on myself. And while my family, you know, while I've always been brought up with like, oh, you're the eldest, you should know better kind of thing, I'm allowed to make mistakes as well. Like that was a big thing for me, like just making it okay for myself to make mistakes and not really caring what anyone else thinks, and knowing that it's a lesson for me. I've always been a bit of a perfectionist, so really my biggest hurdle is just trying to relax and just be in the moment. And you know, I supported another artist called Kid Ink from the States, who I really like. I listened to his music for a while and I really like him, and I was so worried about doing a good job with the show and making sure everything ran okay that I didn't really enjoy it. So I'm glad that happened before TLC, because now I know that it's all right. Even if I fall over on stage, I'll just jump up and laugh, and yeah. At least I can say, well, it was me that fell over on stage, not you. So I was up there, you know. There's a lot of things, but I'm studying pop music at the moment. I want to know what, you know, the Australian music industry sees and all of that. So yeah, I'm listening to a lot of current artists and just working that all out. But for me, who I'm really, really liking at the moment is Ciara, Janet Jackson, Lauryn Hill. I've gone back to TLC really crazily. But like Ciara's obviously a new person, you know, in the industry compared to Janet and Lauryn Hill, but I didn't grow up with Janet Jackson. Like, I knew who she was and she was around, but going back and looking at her music now as a older, you know, person, and it's really, as a woman, she's like really, you know, like sexy, but she's not classless or anything. So yeah, I'm just looking at women in the industry at the moment, and because it's so easy to become Miley Cyrus just by saying the wrong thing. You know, they could be meaning the same thing, but it's like how you say it, and whether you're just on the ball or whether you're licking the chain as well. We don't want me to become that, so if that ever happens and any of you see me, feel free to slap me. It will. You're like nodding like we will slap you. Sorry, you said the best artists are what? Oh yeah, yeah. A bit of both. I believe that the state of the hip hop industry, not so much the industry itself, like people that are in it are all cool, but who's making it, I think it's just a reflection on the country as a whole, and how, you know, we're still breaking down barriers as having like black faces on mainstream TV. Like, the only way we've really been on there lately is because we're making our own shows, but that's something that we need to do, you know, for ourselves, take control of our own like identity and how we want to be seen. Otherwise we're always going to be like the criminal or the, you know, the football player, you know, in TV shows. But I also think in saying that though, we can't sit there and be like, oh, it's because I'm black that I'm not getting this. Yeah, there are so many talented artists out there, but even just looking around me, like, I see so much talent who I would even say they're better than me, but the thing is that I'm driven and they're not, and that's what it really comes down to. Like, you can sit there and say, well, I'm better than Hilltop Hoods, so, but you know, it's just the country, like, they don't want to have black fellas up there doing their thing. You've got to put the work in, and if the opportunity doesn't present itself, then you just got to make it. Like, we've got to stand up and we've got to stop blaming everyone else, and we've got to take control of what we're doing, and we need to make sure that if we're going to put something out there, it's going to be quality, it's not rushed, it's not shit, it's not like, oh sorry, Bubba. It's, you know, like, if we're going to do something, we have to do it properly. We can't expect to make it up there if we're not going to be producing that or better, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's just really on us. And then it's also the thing of, we have a different sound. Like, people hear us rapping and then we don't sound Aussie, and we're not quite American, so what are we? Like, what's this sound? You know, it's a bit different, and it's probably going to take, you know, 5 to 10 years for people to get used to that sound. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. Probably time will tell. How are we going, boss?
You got 12 minutes.
Didn't you say I had 10 minutes before?
Yeah, but that's usually because last question takes a
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
What do you want? Oh, the school one? Okay. I'm going to sing this for you. What school do you go to? Shorncliffe. Oh, you're from over that side of the river. Okay, so yeah, this one, I actually wrote this a really long time ago now. It was when I was first starting out. I was in a group called Poetic Murrays with two boys, Butterkay and Justice, and It was the first time we'd been, hired to go and do a workshop block, and we went up to Weipa and Nafranum, and they were having issues with getting a lot of the Indigenous kids into school, or they'd go for a little bit and then they want to go fishing or something, which after being to Palm Island, I totally understand. I never want to tell the kids to go to school ever again. I wouldn't go if I was there. I'd be like, I'm going to go to the beach too, miss. No, that's in Palm Island. But this is what we wrote after being told that there was a bit of an attendance issue. Don't be ashamed to feed your brain. A good education will give you a head start to the game. When learning feels lame, it's usually cause you don't understand. So instead of getting banned, raise your hand, ask the teacher again. Say, can you please repeat? It ain't an easy feat, but you're better than life on the street. And you're definitely better than living a life of defeat. Look at POETICMUIIIZ. If we can, then you can too. Yes, us poetic Murrays, we believe in you. My brothers and sisters, you are far from fools. Skipping class to full of peeps, man, that just ain't cool. Knowledge is power, so use school as a tool. Believe in yourself, cuz through and through. And don't let anybody tell you you can't make it at what you do. Cause if you've seen it in your head, then it can come true. It's true. So yeah. Do you like school? What do you like about school? What's your favourite subject? Or what do you do? Science. I was good at science too. I was good at biology. You probably won't do that until high school, but do you get to cut things up yet? No? Not yet?
Purpose.
Do you cut things up? I used to cut hair too. I cut my cousin's hair when I was little. I thought I was a hairdresser, but it didn't turn out very good. So yeah, is there anything else before we wrap up? Nope. Yeah. I think for a long time I acted like it didn't bother me because, I guess I've been smart enough to kind of just brush it off or whatever, but it did get to a point where there was I was just getting nasty things said about me for no reason and by people who don't know me, and it really, it was good inspiration for songs. So that's what I always tell the kids. We go into a lot of communities where they're getting into fights because they're getting called bad names and stuff, and we tell the kids now, this is your chance. When you're sitting down with us, learn how to write a song, learn how to do this, learn how to do that, because when they do that to you, if it makes you angry or if it makes you upset, write a song about it, because then you have something that you can go and perform, and people are going to pay you because they want to hear that. So what are those kids going to, what have they got? They're going to be still sitting there hating on other people while you're using that in a positive way, and you're going to go and, do something that you love and possibly make money off it and possibly end up supporting your childhood, idols. And just as part of me growing up as a person as well, I've obviously learnt that people that do that kind of stuff, it's a reflection of their own insecurities, and a lot of people wish that they could do what I'm doing, and it's really just not upon me to get angry at them anymore. If anything, I just feel sorry for them, and I strongly believe that you don't have to bring other people down to build yourself up. So